The people in casting positions are not concerned about it, and they cast me in wonderful roles. I've been doing, for the last 4 years since I've done the role of Edith Bunker, some great roles in TV films and in the theater. So I'm having a wonderful time.
How do you look back on all those All in the Family shows? You broke ground on so many issues, rape, menopause, of course, racism. How do you look back on that?
Well, we broke ground in terms of the fact that it could be brought out and talked about, and I feel very proud of the whole 8.5 years because it was a show that was honest in a great degree, and we protected that honesty through the characters we played and our part in it. It was a very collaborative effort, and
do you think that TV is as honest today as it was then?
Well, I must tell you that I don't have time to watch it working in the theater. I can't speak about that with authority. I haven't seen a show that was as topical as ours. I don't think so, but
that's a very diplomatic answer.
I must say that the topicality and the morality of the show made me very proud, because in almost every episode there was a moral statement made.
Welcome back to Time and Again as we look back on All in the Family, the most popular, most influential sitcom of the 70s. The dominant sitcom of the 90s was Seinfeld. It was ironic, some would say cynical. Everything All in the Family wasn't. It wasn't about nothing, not by a long shot. Here's just a partial list of the issues that came up in the Bunker household week after week. The show was topical, relevant, fearless, and proud of it. But let's face it, issues alone don't make a successful TV show, much less good comedy. What made All in the Family work was its humanity. Its characters weren't two-dimensional cartoons. They came across as real people, imperfections and all. The man who brought that vision to the screen was the show's creator, Norman Lear.
You are a meathead. A meathead, dead from the neck up. Meathead.
Any overview of your career has to begin with All in the Family. Where'd the idea come from?
I lived with Archie Bunker. I read in a small article in TV Guide about a show that was a big hit in England, Till Death Us Do Part. And all they said about it was just a couple lines about a bigoted father and his son-in-law. Oh my God, that's my dad and me. He used to call me the laziest white kid he ever met.
Your dad did?
Yeah, and I'd scream at him, why would you put down a whole race of people just to tell me I'm lazy? He said, because I'm not doing that, he insisted. And you are lazy, and on top of that, you're the stupidest white kid I ever met. So that was my dad. And I read this item and I said, my Lord, why did I never think of this before?
Was your dad as bad as Archie Bunker?
He was as certain of his convictions as Archie Bunker. He was a little more, a lot more sophisticated. Not well educated. He didn't graduate from high school, but he was more sophisticated, more worldly. He'd been a salesman. He'd been out more. He'd done a little more traveling. He'd been in the Army and the Navy, so he'd seen more. But he was. My father used to say, as Archie said, I've been everywhere where the grass grows green and I've seen everything, so don't tell me. You know, those essences were the same.
Was his relationship with your mom similar to Archie's with Edith?
Oh yeah. He stood over her, but I never could get Carol O'Connor to do Stifle Yourself the way I wanted him to do. He used to stand over her and scream at her. The veins would bulge out of his neck. Jeanette, stifle yourself. And always accuse her of not kissing wet enough.
Really?
Yeah, your lips are too tight, Jeanette. Your lips are too tight.
And how did...
Too dry.
How did your mom counter this? How did she maintain her dignity?
Not like Edith. There was a vast difference. Gene Stapleton once asked me, I don't know that my mother did, because she shattered. Gene never shattered. Edith's strength was rooted in faith, and my mother didn't quite have that. So Gene once asked me early in rehearsal on the first episode, how do I hear some of the things that he says and not react instantly? and I said, Gene, the best thing I can tell you is you're the center. You're the center sister among the Andrews sisters, and you're singing "Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree." You're always you've got music playing in your head while this is going on. You love the man. You know he doesn't mean a lot of it.
Guess what famous and important personality I carried as a passenger in my cab today?
Oh, Ted!
Oh, no, you ain't gonna get it out of me that easy. Come on, you gotta guess for this one.
All right, let's try. I'll go first. Living or dead?
One thing about Edith that the audience always knew, she might not have been the most intelligent person in objective terms, but she was often the most logical one in the whole house. Mm-hmm. And because her instincts were so good-natured mm-hmm. and uncomplicated by any kind of malice, often her almost childlike assessment of what to do mm-hmm. and how to regard the other people involved in the conflict was right on the money. Mm-hmm. She was kind of the conscience of the show.
Well, we always asked ourselves, when we wondered how Edith would react to anything, we asked ourselves, what would Jesus do? We wanted her that pure. And I think Jesus at some point made reference to the purity, to loving God as a child might love. And that was Edith. She loved everybody as a child might love.
There was some sort of notation on the first show at the beginning that we're hoping to throw a spotlight on these prejudices and upon bigotry and hope in a humorous way to show how absurd they are. But I guess it was Hobson's contention, and for those who don't know, Gentleman's Agreement was a book and then a movie about anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. It was her contention, and I think Bill Cosby said at the time that Archie Bunker was like a junkie shooting up on national television, spewing forth all this bigotry. They obviously were afraid that people couldn't distinguish between parody and license, and that if this guy's on TV doing it, then it must be humorous and somebody's approving of it.
Yeah, Cosby still has problems with it, or did some months ago. I saw him on somebody's show talking about it. He still had problems with All in the Family. But I thought we were looking at life the way it was.
Now, you look at me. You figure me for prejudiced kind? Oh, Archie, you don't tell me you're really paying attention to those young kids. What do they know? I mean, you prejudice. Look, if you were prejudiced, Archie, when I came into your house, you would have called me a coon or a nigger. But you didn't say that. I heard you clear as a bell. Right straight out, you said, color. Yeah, that's what I done, all right. If you were prejudiced, you'd walk around thinking that you're better than anybody else in the world. But I can honestly say, having spent these marvelous moments with you, you ain't better than anybody. Can I have your hand on that sandwich?
How did you react? I asked the same question to Norman Lear when he was here a year ago. When Bill Cosby, I think Whitney Young, who then was the head of the Urban League, Laura Hobson, who wrote Gentleman's Agreement about anti-Semitism, when they said, look, we know the intention. This is intended to skewer bigotry, but maybe people can't make the distinction and we're not comfortable with this. Did you think they had a point?
They might have had a point. They might have had a point. I don't think that, I don't think we had any effect on racism. Still here. So all we did was present a man who was very funny because his racism was preventing him from enjoying life. He never came home happy about the world. Mm-hmm. You never saw Archie Bunker laugh about anything in all those years. He was never, he never enjoyed himself. And if you're a racist worrying about everybody you're working with all day long, you're looking at this guy, what is he, black? What is he? What is he, a Filipino or something like that? Oh, a Mexican guy or something. You don't enjoy your job, you don't enjoy your life. The world is full of all kinds, and you've got to live with them and love them. If you love them, life becomes very sweet. Well, Archie couldn't get to that point, and I think that's what we were trying to do, show a man who was missing out on life, and because of that terrible era of racism. But I don't think we cured the disease.